And here we are again, Chargers fans, both physically at Social Tap San Diego and spiritually, talking about yet another agonizing Chargers loss, 34-31 yesterday to the Oakland Raiders. Welcome to Bolts on Tap, along with John Gennaro. I'm Ben Higgins. Thanks for joining us, spending some time during your lunch hour on a Monday to talk a little Chargers football. If you want to contribute to the show, very easy to do. You can just comment along on Facebook. We are streaming live on Facebook Live. That's where you see me and John right here. Or you can tweet us at Ben Higgins SD or at John M. Gennaro. We'll take comments and questions over the course of the next 30 minutes. But I want to lay out, John, what we're going to talk about today, because there's a couple of issues I specifically want to get to after the way that game ended with the Chargers taking the 8-point lead in the second half, blowing it again a little bit earlier than usual, which gave them time for a comeback from down 10 to within 3, and ultimately the decision to kick a field goal on 4th and 1 that was botched by punter Drew Kaiser, the holder, leading to the Raiders' 34-31 win. 10 straight AFC West losses for the Chargers. I can't even keep track of what Mike McCoy's record in one-score games now is, going back to the start of last season. Like
really bad.
3-15 or something.
Really bad. And really, that's you're kind of diving into a smaller point that you don't need to dive into. In the last 21 Chargers regular season games, they have won 5 of them. They are essentially one of the 3 worst teams in the league over the course of now an entire season and a half, if not a little bit longer than that. The Chargers are a bad football team. They should be in the conversation with the Cleveland Browns. They should be in the conversation with the Tennessee Titans, the San Francisco 49ers, all these other teams that are either in the process of blowing it up, recently blew it up, or need to blow it up soon. The Chargers are right there with them. We need to stop fooling ourselves. I don't care how many leads they have in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. They're not a good team.
Usually I wait until a little bit later, but I got the whiteboard back this week. So let's go right into Mike's mistakes, because there's only one, to me, that really matters talking about in this game, and that is go for it on 4th down and 1. And, John, you and I agree, so I'd love to hear from some fans who disagree. I know Mike McCoy disagrees. I know Phillip Rivers disagrees. He was very confident in his defense of Mike McCoy's decision to kick a field goal, whether he really believes it or whether he was defending his head coach.
He was defending his head coach.
He said,
Phillip Rivers is not that stupid.
But he said, it's obvious to me, you kick the field goal, play for the tie, try to win the game later in overtime. To me, that is absolutely wrong, and it's wrong strategically, not emotionally. And when I say that, because there's a lot of fans who said, hey, the Chargers need to do what the Raiders did. They went for it on 4th down earlier in the game. It was a huge momentum boost. Jack Del Rio has this silver and black team playing with some swagger up there. He goes for it on 4th down. They did it in their first game of the season dramatically, go for 2-point conversions. That's what the Chargers need. They need bold thinking from their, meek head coach Mike McCoy. That's not at all why the Chargers should have gone for it. Maybe it's a secondary benefit if you believe in such a thing. But the reason...
No, that's not why the Chargers should have gone for it. That's why Mike McCoy should have gone for it. Mike McCoy had the opportunity to save his job there. But even if his job is not on the line, the Chargers should go for that every single time, regardless of who the coach is or what his current position is.
All right, let's go through the scenario and explain why we both feel like it's not even a 50-50. It's a 100-0 in my mind, why the Chargers should go for it. 4th and 1. You got about 2 minutes and 20 seconds or so left on the clock at that point, I believe.
Yeah.
If you kick the field goal and make it, and that is the best case scenario. When you trot your field goal kicker out, your best scenario is making the field goal and tying the game.
Yeah, and that's actually, that play went right into the 2-minute warning. So you make the field goal, you tie the game. The Raiders get the ball back with 2 minutes.
All right, so let's play it out from there. You've tied the game. Great. You've come back from 10 points down. But hold on. You're giving the ball back to the other team with plenty of time on the clock, a really good quarterback in Derek Carr, 2 timeouts, and a field goal kicker in Sebastian Janikowski, who has a massive legs. All he really needs to do is get to about the 40, 35-yard line of the Chargers.
And really, you were dealing in, not to criticize, you were dealing in generality. Derek Carr is a good quarterback. That's generality has good legs, which solved he kicked a 56-yard field goal to end the first half. We know what his range is. And it's not just that Derek Carr is a good quarterback or Amari Cooper and Crabtree are good wide receivers going up against bad quarterbacks. Mike McCoy should have seen that the Raiders scored points in 5 of the previous 6 possessions. 5 of the previous 6 possessions. There's almost 100% chance that the Raiders drive down the field and score because they have shown you time and time and time and time again in the second half that that's what they do to the Chargers defense. The Raiders scored 25 points in the second half. The idea that your defense is going to stop them once and then stop them again in overtime is absurd. It's an absurd notion.
All right, I'm getting some reports on Twitter that the sound is going a little in and out.
Okay.
So I know Rob, our engineer, is working on that, but they missed some of our arguments. So I want to just go back, lay it out again from the beginning.
Okay.
If you didn't hear it, because I think this is important. I think this is the focus of today's show, and that is why the Chargers should have gone for it on 4th and 1 instead of kicking the field goal attempt.
Well, for me, there's 2 big things that lost this game, and that's one of them. The other one, I think you can still tie back to Mike McCoy, and this is part of the argument that we were having last week about whether or not fumbles are the fault of the players or whether fumbles are the fault of the coach. And I think if you're going to credit a coach for his team playing mistake-free football, you also have to tear him down when his team makes mistake after mistake after mistake. And I'm going to ignore Phillip Rivers' 2 interceptions right now, even though those were mistakes. Antonio Gates fumbling the ball was more of a good play by the Raiders than a bad play by the Chargers. But again, the Chargers were up 8 in the third quarter, and what happens? 2 consecutive turnovers. Melvin Gordon fumbles the ball, and on the next possession, Drew Kaiser ends up punting a ball about 15 yards. In my book, that's a turnover. That is the equivalent to a regular interception because it's a change of possession without a big change in where you are in the field. So again, the Chargers with a lead in the second half give the ball over to the other team with a short field and give them an opportunity to get back in it and win it.
All right, we've gone through the outcomes that can happen if the Chargers make the field goal. And that is they lose in regulation, they lose in overtime, or they win in overtime. Let's talk about what happens if the Chargers go for it on 4th down in that situation. Again, for people who may have missed with the audio issues we had. If they go for it on 4th down, sure, they could fail to make the 1 yard, and the game is probably over at that point, like it is if you miss the field goal or botch the field goal attempt. But if you make the 1 yard, and that's in the NFL, that's an over 50% proposition on 4th and less than a yard.
You can also look at the fact that Melvin Gordon's averaging 4.3 yards per carry to that point. Antonio Gates has been targeted 5 times, has equaled 4 catches for 30 yards, so he's getting about 7 yards a catch, and catching the ball 80% of the time you're throwing it to him. And Phillip Rivers, who's completing 66% of his passes. So essentially, you have a 2/3 chance of picking up that first down.
All right, so then you pick up the first down. What happens? Well, you don't necessarily score a touchdown, but even if you're stopped and have to attempt a field goal, all of a sudden you've bled most of the clock out of the game. And if the Raiders do get the ball back, it's with much less time to go and try to kick a winning field goal.
Right.
Or you go down and score a touchdown either right away, and then the Raiders have to answer with a touchdown or they lose, or you bleed a lot of the clock off, then score the touchdown and leave almost no time, and you've pretty much automatically won at that point. There are so many more good outcomes.
Well, even if it took them some time and they eventually got close and kicked a field goal and tied it up with no time left in the 4th quarter, sent it into overtime at that point, they get into a 4th and 7, 4th and 8 situation. At the very least, you give yourself a chance to start the overtime with the ball. Maybe you get lucky, maybe you drive down, maybe you score at that point. But you can't rely on your defense that's giving up yards and points to the Raiders every time it's on the field. You cannot rely on that defense to win the game for you.
Here's the crazy thing. As ugly as that ending was, as heartbreaking again as yesterday's Chargers loss was, I think the Oakland Raiders are a very good football team.
Very good football team.
They're 4-1. You were playing on the road, and you had every opportunity to win, either holding on to that 8-point lead you had in the third quarter or finishing it off at the end of the game by, going for the 4th down, making the touchdown, winning it right there. I mean, can the Chargers compete like this with all the losses that they have sustained over the course of the season so far? Is Phillip Rivers that good that he can turn what he's got left into a competitive football team the rest of the way?
Yes.
With a different head coach?
Well, yeah, I mean, look at how they're losing these games. I mean, I just told you, the blame of this one goes on McCoy, it goes on Kaiser, and it goes on Melvin Gordon. Nowhere does it go on Phillip Rivers. Last week it went on Melvin Gordon and it went on Travis Benjamin. Nowhere does it go on Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is the one that the Chargers are, I think, one of 3 teams in the entire NFL that has scored more than 20 points in every game they've played this season. They have a top-notch offense. Rivers is the 6th best quarterback in the league by QBR so far this year. Phillip Rivers is so good that even when Travis Benjamin is his primary and really his only receiver out there, and the only running game they have is Melvin Gordon getting 15 touches a game out of the backfield, which is essentially what they're doing week in and week out now, it's enough for them to score 30 points a game. And Phillip Rivers said it in, I think, a press conference last week. He said, look, we're getting these leads. We're scoring over 30 points a game. We're getting up 8 to 10 points in the second half every game. Does a bad team do that? And the answer is no. Phillip Rivers is good enough to make this team good. It's just when you put the ball in the hands of rookies, first-year guys like Melvin Gordon that haven't been coached up, no one's figuring out how to solve the issues that they have late in the game, Mike McCoy is losing these games that Phillip Rivers is putting them in a position to win.
All right, you know, the funny thing is, in the last 2 weeks, we've seen almost every target that Phillip Rivers has. Dontrell Inman had a big game last week. Tyrell Williams had a big game this week. Hunter Henry had his biggest gain of the season and his first touchdown of his career yesterday. And Travis Benjamin got to show off the speed, which is the reason that the Chargers brought him in.
Right.
The Chargers still have weapons that they can use offensively. And now, and I want to get to this, they've added a defensive weapon. I didn't think that Joey Bosa would be able to come in right away and do what he did yesterday, but I don't know what you saw, John. I saw an impact player on the field in his first NFL game, and that's kind of crazy considering how much time he's missed. I was not thinking that Joey Bosa would be able to do what he did yesterday. 2 sacks, a tackle for loss, and he looked like the best Chargers player on the defensive line.
Not only was he the best Chargers player on the defensive line, he might be the best Chargers defensive player in a one-game, obviously small sample, since Sean Merriman. I mean, he was that level. He was J.J. Watt level. 2 sacks and I think 27 plays is absolutely unheard of. To blame. As a matter of fact, I think he did a good job slowing down the Raiders' offense. Turn the time, or if you consider the punt to turnover as I do, you turn the you put the Raiders in a position where all they have to do is go 30 yards and they're in the end zone. And Joey Bosa is only playing 1 out of, I think he played 27 of some. So 1 every 4 snaps, once every 3. It's not going to be enough.
Coming in, our web producer Ferris says ESPN is calling the news Bears, which is fair.
That's totally
at this point. Absolutely. I mean, comments on the Facebook, McCoy has no guts.
no.
Know this. He plays conservatively, plays to lose, and maybe my biggest into the future of Mike McCoy, maybe a very short-term future here in the second 15 minutes, but maybe my biggest beef with McCoy, his entire tenure with the Chargers, is that he puts his players not in positions to succeed, but in positions to fail. And to me, that's what he did yesterday. He'll say in his post-game press conference, we didn't execute. We didn't make the play we needed to make to win. And while that's true, I would like to see Mike McCoy, take the onus, like going for it on 4th down there, where if it doesn't work out, you know what, it is all on him that day. And I could respect that. But he's now asking his field goal kicking unit to make a play. He's asking his defense to make several plays to stop the Raiders and force a 4th down so they don't win. He's asking his kickoff, either coverage or return team to make a play at the start of overtime. He's possibly asking his defense to make another play if the Raiders get the ball to start overtime. And then he's asking his offense to make some plays and go down and win the game. Instead, he could have made one choice and said, you know what? All we need to do is make 1, maybe 2 plays here, and we can win the game right out. But he made the choice to force his players to have to make maybe a dozen plays after that point to win the game.
Well, see, and this is, I think you're actually wrong. I don't think he's leaving it up to the players because he's not handing the players the keys to the game and saying go out there and win. I mean, where the collapses have come against the Chiefs, against the Saints, and even yesterday against the Raiders when they were up 8 in the third quarter, is Mike McCoy, instead of saying, I believe in you to go out and win this game, he's saying, just don't screw up. He's grabbing every player and saying, just don't screw up. He's not saying, I believe in you to win the game. Going for it on 4th and 1 says to his players, I believe in you. You can win this game. But not going for it says, look, I think we can stand a chance to win this if we just don't screw up.
All right, it's 12:46. We are live at Social Tap San Diego. This is Bolts on Tap, along with John Gennaro. I'm Ben Higgins. What a great place in the Gaslamp. I can't believe, ever since we started doing the show here at the start of Chargers season, I keep having people come up to me who said, hey, I went down and tried Social Tap. I never knew it was there. The food is amazing.
The food is incredible.
It's great atmosphere, great televisions. People don't know it's here. It's literally in the park at the park. We can see Petco Park from here. I'm not sure how you didn't know this place was here. Maybe you didn't know it had such great food. You thought, oh, I didn't realize
I didn't know it was here.
Right.
Because every time I would go down to a Padres game, I would either go straight down 10th or I'd go down 8th. And we're kind of, no,
right,
this is 8th here.
7th.
I'd go down 7th or I'd go down 10th. It's very rare that I would sort of walk along the park here. But now that I've been here, I'm coming back all the time, mostly for the food.
All right, food's terrific. You get the Monday Night Football special, burger and the beer for $10. You can come by tonight, enjoy that any Monday night. Plus, the new location, open now, although the official grand opening in a couple of weeks, by San Diego State. If that's more convenient, check it out at Social Tap SD. All right, I want to welcome in anyone who didn't join us for the first 15 minutes. We talked about the decision of Mike McCoy to kick the field goal that was botched on 4th and 1 late in the game. We talked about Phillip Rivers keeping this team competitive despite the 1-4 record. Now I want to move into McCoy's future, whether it's a very short-term future.
Oh, he's got 5 days left.
That's what everyone's saying.
5 days left.
Ian Rappaport, one of a few reports I saw yesterday, saying that the Chargers are going to reevaluate after yesterday's game and Thursday's game. And if the Chargers lose both, then they'll probably make a change Friday morning and have a new head coach for the San Diego Chargers. We're halfway there. So I got a question here, though, on Twitter, and I think it bears at least talking about for a moment. Let me see who it's from. I got it from Joe, who says, we all know Mike McCoy's days are numbered. Will an upset Thursday night postpone the inevitable? So I can see the scenario. If the Chargers lose, they're 1-5. They got the long week. Absolutely, you can make a change. It's almost a no-brainer.
Right.
What if the Chargers beat the Broncos? Because to me, the Broncos are very beatable this week.
I disagree.
And the Chargers might be able to do it. All right, go ahead and
I disagree because I know your points. Kubiak is going through some health issues.
He's in the hospital. I mean, he's supposed to be released today, but you got your head coach needing to prepare for a game on a short week from a hospital bed. And I don't know about you. Have you ever been hospitalized, John?
No, never, actually.
Okay. Most people, if they're hospitalized, even if they're released, they're not like back, skipping at work 2 hours later. He's got almost no time to get ready for the game. Granted, he's got assistant coaches that are going to help out, but this is going to be disruptive on a very short game week for the Denver Broncos.
It's a chance. We just talked about this with Mike McCoy and his players. This is going to be a chance for the Denver Broncos players to pick up their coach. Their coach is struggling right now. Their coach can't be there. Their coach is going to be exhausted. I think they actually diagnosed him with something that was a symptom of extreme exhaustion. So they know their coach needs some help right now. He needs someone to pick him up. I think they're going to see that. They're hungry. They're angry after losing to the Atlanta Falcons. Look, if you haven't seen that the Broncos are playing like they have something to prove this year, you're not watching the Broncos. And yes, Paxton Lynch was not great against the Atlanta Falcons, but Trevor Siemian's going to be back for this game.
Maybe.
I guarantee it.
Maybe.
Trevor Siemian said after yesterday's game that he was probably good enough that he could have gone yesterday, but they made the decision that, look, he can either go Sunday or he can go Thursday. If we wait until Thursday, he's going to be close to 100%. Trevor Siemian's going to be back. The Chargers defense still has holes. The offensive line, we haven't even started talking about all the injuries on the Chargers offensive line right now. they're going to get pressure on Phillip Rivers. Look, I'm just waiting for the line to come out because whatever money I was going to spend on a ticket to this game, I'm going to put on the Denver Broncos because they are going to be so angry that they're going to come out and crush Mike McCoy, and it's going to be a fitting end to his career with the San Diego Chargers that the Broncos are the one to put the final knife in his gut.
John, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment from the Chargers once again when they cause you to lose all this money on Thursday night, because there's no tougher situation in the NFL than that Thursday night road game on the short week. They shouldn't be playing these Thursday night games anyway. They're the worst played football games of the season.
Is it really going to be a road game?
They're sloppy.
It's going to be filled with Bronco fans at Qualcomm Stadium.
Fans, but you still got to travel. You got to deal with that on the short week. It's the toughest game to win that the NFL has. And I think you're underestimating how much Phillip Rivers wants to beat the Broncos. It's not the Raiders that are the big rivalry for Phillip Rivers. That was LT's rivalry. That was back in the day. LT loved beating the Raiders. The Chargers owned them. They won like 13 straight. Phillip Rivers' rivalry, and you can see it from, remember Mike McCoy's first season as head coach when the Chargers went in on a Thursday night and shocked the Broncos in Denver. And Phillip was all yeehaw on the postgame show with the polo tie and the snakeskin boots.
Yeah.
He loves beating the Broncos. That is what Phillip Rivers lives for. He is going to rally this team. McCoy, no McCoy, they're going to play their hearts out to beat the Denver Broncos in their only primetime game of the season. There's no Monday Night Football for the Chargers. There's no Sunday Night Football for the Chargers. They're not getting flexed in at the end of this season. This is their one shot on a primetime game, and they are going to be up for it. And I think the Chargers are going to win this game on Thursday night. I just don't know what happens after that. Does that save Mike McCoy's job temporarily, permanently, for the rest of the season, until the bye week, until the election? I don't know. The Chargers are going to have put themselves, at least through these rumors, in a situation where if he ends up winning on Thursday, you can't really fire the guy after a big win. So what do you do moving forward? I don't know.
Well, and I remember, I predicted that win correctly for the San Diego Chargers. And the reason I did was I said, look, the Broncos are old. Peyton Manning's not the same guy in a midweek game. But that was a road game. The Chargers were the one traveling for that. But they were also the young ones. They wanted to go into Denver's home and shake them up. Now it's Denver coming into the Chargers' home. Now they're the young team. They're the young guns. Antonio Gates is not 100%. He is going to be even less on Thursday than he was this past Sunday, close to 100%. Phillip Rivers is getting up there in age. You can't have Travis Benjamin be your entire offense. And look, Melvin Gordon looked better, but Melvin Gordon is not the same guy this week that he was in week 2 against Jacksonville. And I know he got those touchdowns early on in the season, so everyone wants to chalk this up to a good season. But outside of that 100-yard game against Jacksonville, he's been largely ineffective. He's had a few games where he's averaging about 2.2, 2.3 yards per carry, usually finishing games with about 60, 65 yards. If that on the ground. Against the Colts, he did next to nothing. Against the Saints, he did next to nothing. And yesterday, even though he was pretty effective in the first half, you can see that they're scared to use him as their cowbell back who just gets 20, 25 carries, and he carries you through the first bell cow, fourth quarter. Part of the reason that they're blowing these leads, I mean, yes, McCoy's getting conservative. He's making bad calls and all that, but they are afraid to give Melvin Gordon a heavy workload, probably because of his surgically reconstructed knee in this past offseason, probably because of his fumbling issues, which always seem to happen late in games. Without that running back that they can ride on in the second half, I don't care if they have a 25-point lead at halftime. The Chargers are going to blow it. They're going to lose.
To paraphrase Christopher Walken in a legendary Saturday Night Live skit, the Chargers need more bell cow.
I nailed it.
Okay, let's talk about something theoretical that we didn't get to last week, because there was a lot of talk leading up to the Raiders game. If the Chargers keep losing, and they may lose again this week, that Phillip Rivers should be traded, and the Chargers need
really
to
glad you
move
brought this
on
up.
From the Phillip Rivers era.
Yeah.
I think absolutely not. That's crazy. I don't think they can even do it with the way the salary cap is structured. They would cripple their team if they tried to trade him immediately after signing him to the contract extension. There's a lot of people out there that say, hey, be fair to Phillip Rivers, send him somewhere else, get a draft pick back, Let's just build for the future. That's what the Padres out there in Petco Park are certainly trying to do.
Right.
That's not really how the NFL works, though. I mean, yes, you do try to stockpile some draft picks and you're building for the future, but you don't get the value when you make big trades in the NFL like you do in Major League Baseball. But what do you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember a situation since, Herschel Walker where this has really helped the team that traded away. I don't think the Bengals got a lot back when they traded away Carson. I know they got a lot back when they traded away Carson Palmer.
They've turned into a perennial playoff
But
team.
they kind of were already when Palmer was there. They just had a guy waiting that they wanted to get on the field in Andy Dalton, so it helped them out. But first of all, it is possible. Under the salary cap rules, it is possible. And if the Chargers did this and they drafted a quarterback who was their starting quarterback next year, financially it's possible. It might actually save the Chargers money to do this. And if they could get back a huge package of, 4 first-round picks, then it's worth it. Then you do it. But I think in reality, the Chargers have done horrible things to Phillip Rivers' career. He deserves better than this. And right now, I think he deserves the Chargers going to him and saying, look, we know we're not going to be good for a couple years now. If you want out, we can make it happen. If you want to stay, we can try and build around you and leave it up to him.
All right, to me, though, the biggest reason to keep Phillip Rivers is one that I haven't seen brought up yet. I'm going to throw it at you right now. The Chargers this offseason almost certainly are going to be head coach shopping.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily going to be at the top of the hot head coaching list.
And nor are they going to pay anyone top dollar.
Right. So the only way to draw people to San Diego, a good head coach, hey, you can throw out the weather and SeaWorld and Social Tap San Diego. It's a great place. Come on down. But if you have a potential Hall of Fame quarterback to build around, that is going to tempt a guy like a Josh McDaniels.
Yes.
To want to come to San Diego. You trade Phillip Rivers away, you're going to end up with the next Rich Kotite as your head coach, and they'll be in no better shape than they were with Mike McCoy.
Yeah, the problem is Tom Telesco's got a contract extension. John Spanos isn't going anywhere. And a guy like Josh McDaniels is such a hot commodity that he's actually said wherever he goes, he needs final say over all the personnel decisions, that the Chargers aren't going to give that to them. So really, you're not going to get the top-flight coach guys.
It's bold for a coach who was a miserable failure in Denver.
He's a very hot commodity these days. So they're not going to get the top-flight guy no matter what. I see your argument. It's a good one. But they're going to have to get a guy who's young, up-and-coming, who they can possibly go, look, we have a number 2, number 3 draft pick. You take whichever quarterback you want. You build the system that you want.
All right, let's finish with our 3 questions from Ferris, because it's been an interesting opening 5 weeks in the NFL for sure. Number 1 here, Dak Prescott has gone his first 155 pass attempts without an interception, a rookie record. Should the Cowboys trade Tony Romo? If so, to who? Now, Jerry Jones has said that it's still Tony Romo's job when
it is Tony Romo's job.
So maybe they should trade Dak Prescott.
No. Look, Tony Romo is at this moment a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott isn't throwing interceptions because he's being very conservative. He's not doing sort of the risky gunslinger type throws that Tony Romo throws out there. But Tony Romo right now is a better quarterback. So what they're going to do, I don't care if they're 7-1 when Romo comes back. Romo gets the starting job. The thing at that point is, if Romo gets hurt, they're comfortable with their backup plan. If Romo loses 2-3 games in a row, maybe you consider a switch. It gives them depth. People always tell you NFL teams win with depth, especially in the playoffs, especially late in the season. Dak Prescott helps the Cowboys' depth.
I wonder, though, had Drew Bledsoe gotten healthy again the year that Tom Brady took over his starting
He did get healthy.
Well, he did. Late,
he started a playoff game.
Late. Did he?
He started a playoff game, and then he played very poorly in the first half, and they brought Brady in off the bench.
So they can do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, there you go. Fair enough. Number 2, the 5-0 Vikings are a very real Super Bowl contender. Ben, in our season preview, you boldly predicted that Sam Bradford would be a Pro Bowler. Was the need to feed Adrian Peterson holding the Vikings back? Are they better without him? No, they're not better without Adrian Peterson. They're just a better team overall this year.
Ferris asked me this question last week, and I thought he was crazy. And then I watched the Vikings this week, and he's not crazy. Look, Adrian...
He might not be crazy about this.
No, yeah. Adrian Peterson is an incredible running back. But things he doesn't do well, pass protect, run routes, catch the ball, give any sort of semblance of help to the passing game at all. The guys they have in there now, sure, their running game has taken a hit, but it's made their offense a lot less predictable. This is the old Bill Simmons Ewing theory. You take the star player off the team and suddenly defenses don't know what you're doing anymore. I'd argue that, yeah, Adrian Peterson leaving, the coaching staff has done a great job of figuring out how to use that to their advantage.
And who's the head offensive coach of the Vikings?
Norv Turner.
Norv Turner.
Norv Turner.
All right, finally, number 3. What did you watch last night? The presidential debate, Sunday Night Football, or Bad Boys 2 on TNT?
None. I watched the Toronto Blue Jays
baseball playoffs.
win the
ALDS.
So
out of it that we're not even. It was an extra inning.
It was a good one.
Great game.
It was a very good game.
I actually watched the debate on 10 News.
I watched the debate on Twitter.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So will this week be for the San Diego Chargers and Mike McCoy. Hey, maybe next week Mike will be sitting right here.
Talking
out
about
of a job, he can come down and enjoy a long, leisurely lunch.
He can have a beer and a burger. They got a special today.
He can have like 4 beers. He has no job to go to.
Right, just soak up the sun, maybe catch a ball game. Who knows? Mike McCoy is going to have the world in his hand.
Apologize for any of the audio issues. We'll hope to have those completely cleaned up next week. But either way, come on down to Social Tap SD. Enjoy a burger and a beer. Monday Night Football tonight. If you want to keep talking Chargers football, John Gennaro is heading back to the Mighty 1090 where Darren Smith is on the air. Scott and Billy Ray later on this afternoon. For John Gennaro, I'm Ben Higgins. Thanks for joining us on Bolts on Tap from 10 News. We'll see you next Monday right here at 12:30 after the Thursday night game against the Broncos.